it's a thing that I've been focusing a lot lately, which is the whole thing about nations competing with each other. I believe that we should be competing less and cooperating more. I know it sounds like very kumbaya, and you know, I believe that this is the way for us to all grow together. And I think that we should think about all our prosperity and not compete as countries or different areas.
My guest today is Tambi Jalouqa from Jordan. He's the CEO of Propeller, and the way I picture Tambi and the way I think about him is he's like the Paul Graham of our region. He has he's surprised, but I mean he's very opinionated and he has similar ideas, in my opinion, about what makes a good startup and what works and what doesn't, and how to approach things. So I've read a couple of his blog posts. I listen to podcasts, and I'm always following what he's saying. And I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I've enjoyed following him over the past couple of years with Propeller. So welcome, Tambi.
Hi, Ali. And thank you. And also, you got me off guard. You caught me off guard with the program.
Maybe we can just start with how things typically start. So how did you end up being in the world of startups, like
So
in a few minutes?
I've been building software since I was a kid, let's say, maybe as a kid as a hobby, and then professionally for a few years, which led me to at some point start my own business. But it wasn't a startup per se; it was a software development company. That was my first business. I did that in 2007 for a few years. Then in 2014, I got bored from building products for other people. So I started a startup called Jobland, which was a mobile first video interviewing platform. So, but this was prior to TikTok, prior to Snapchat. So people weren't really comfortable sharing their videos. Uh, I wish we waited a little bit, maybe, but we couldn't fundraise. Things didn't go so well. So we shut down in late 2015. 16 is when I joined a few people, great people, Zaid Farah and Zaid Husban, starting POSRocket, led the products and technology there, uh, which ended up bringing me together with Zaid Farah, who was doing angel investments at the time. He convinced me, let's put our angel investments and the sweat equity we made in POSRocket together in a new business, a holding company of sorts, so we can add more value to more companies, which is something that I think both of us were thinking of at the time, always. We ended up creating Propeller as an investment vehicle, uh, and which slowly, around 2019, became a VC. When I decided to join fully Propeller, become the CEO, and move towards a VC play. Manaf joined us as well earlier, but we were a small team, and we started investing in companies. We did that all the way until we launched our first official GPLP structure fund in 2021, which is the current fund, our first official GPLP fund. And we have a total of 24 companies. So I would say that I just happened to end up being in VC. I wouldn't say that I knew I was going to be in VC. I knew that I wanted to build companies or be part of building companies, but I never asked for or thought of becoming a VC.
Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, Propeller, when it first started, or when I first encountered it anyway, it was positioned like as an accelerator, not a typical fund. And then you made the move to decide to turn it into a VC, more of a venture capital, typical micro fund structure.
Mhm.
What happened there? Why did you start as an accelerator? Why did you make that move?
So, as you mentioned before, when you said Paul Graham, I'm the biggest fan, and we've always been. think many people in the region are big fans of Y Combinator. It's a company. So we were we want to build companies like the companies that are being built in Y Combinator, if you think about it. So we assumed like, yeah, this is what we need to do. We need to have an accelerator similar to Y Combinator. I'm not saying that, but you can feel the resemblance because I guess we have similar thinking, or maybe we're, yani, as everything else, it's built on top of other things that start before it. So there might be some, inspiration.
Yeah, that's
So
how it works.
yeah, and but we felt that it's a different setup in the beginning, and it was like, okay, we have smart people around us, but we're not in the US, we're not in Silicon Valley, we don't have uh, a Stanford that we are very close to, and we're investing in those. Yeah, so the story is different, which meant that we would need to do things differently.
Hmm.
Um, Accelerators in the region tend to be more on the developmental side, which is great. I'm sure they help people, but YC was not built with a developmental mandate, and the funding was not given by the government to create this. That's why it works, by the way. So I don't believe you
Yep.
can create another YC. You can learn from it and get inspired by it, but uh, yeah, that's why I don't believe that currently an accelerator is the best way possible. A VC that really adds value by just being valuable is what we're trying to do now. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
So, so you felt that the accelerator model was not applicable to the region with the type of founder, with the type of companies you're seeing, and
And
or is it the financial aspect? Is it the model financial model wouldn't work with regional outcomes?
um, that might also be, uh, yeah, because you would need to take in-kind equity from startups early on. So I wouldn't say that it's the best way uh, to go about it. But also, if you have a heavily government financed accelerator, you can make the model work. But
Mm,
would it really output the great companies that you want? That is the thing that and we questioned, and we shied away a little bit from like the type of company that we would attract for an accelerator. We so YC at these days they attract like the best of the best. People from Jordan,
yep.
from all across the world are applying to YC. If you're
Hmm.
building an an accelerator that's only like specific for in a country, then you would attract the people that only can access you in a way, not the best. But
Mm,
I, I can't really say that I don't sometimes have, I think like, okay, is it the time to create an accelerator or not? And
hmm.
something that's regional, not something that's specific to one country.
Yep.
Yeah, we think about it
Yeah.
sometimes, going
So
back
I
to
mean,
that.
yeah, basically an accelerator fund in the an accelerator in the region would not have the quality of companies, would not attract the quality of companies that would make it successful in the way you envisioned. Right. Got it.
Right. Yes.
So I mean, going back to Propeller, on your website, it says in bold, very large letters, like product first, everything else follows. Why did you write
Yeah.
that?
Um, I know it's not totally true, by the way, but we're trying to be cheeky and we're trying to be controversial because yeah, some people might say like, no, team is first. I agree. Team are the people who build the product, but that's given. If you want to differentiate yourself in this market or in other markets, having a solid product that's much better than the other alternatives. Of course, much better is relative. Is it much better priced, features, usability, distribution? People reach it easily. So it's a combination of many things. And when I'm talking about product, I talk in the sense that product is something that had a customer. So of course, the customer comes first as well. Some things are, embedded within that message, but we're just trying to shake things up and resonate with people who really care about product as well. Because uh, from our understanding, when we see people build great companies, everything is important: distribution, team, how you manage people, maybe me. But product is usually at the heart of great companies, whether it's an Apple, it's a Snowflake, it's a Airtable, Notion, you can say the product, people enjoy using that product. They enjoy paying for it. Everything's easy. So we do want to highlight that and also attract the people who care about these things as much as we do.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's great, yeah, to really be out there with what you're looking for, because then you attract what you're looking for, and the rest stay away, so to speak. And another area that you focus on from the website is SaaS, enterprise, and cloud. I mean, that's at least on the website. You're saying this is your focus area. You're not looking at other
Mhm.
things necessarily. So no consumer, no other stuff. Why did you decide to do that?
So it's a combination of multiple things. First of all, our experience, yani us
Mm,
as a team, we're very close to software and SaaS. Because of that, we know we have a higher chance of adding value in the early days, connecting you to the right people, also understanding what you're building than other VCs, I would say. And having this cohesive portfolio where a lot of people can actually share what's happening, add value to each other, is also something in our portfolio construction. So we believe in focused funds rather than generic funds. At some point, you would grow as a VC and maybe have other funds or have your fund broader. But since we're just starting, and I would say we're still a micro VC, we believe that focus is key. And the types of companies that we're focusing on are scalable by nature. Yani SaaS companies rarely are focused to one geography. They don't have a lot of operations. Infrastructure companies, the same. Infrastructure might have a little bit of governmental or different aspects, but also they're really valuable because uh, they help other startups run on top of them. So,
mhm.
which goes with the B2B mentality as well, where I'm seeing, يعني we're seeing good results from our portfolio. It's been working for us, and yeah,
Great.
and I would say scalability and building a global product is what pushes us towards SaaS.
Yeah. And you guys, you invest very early in company's life. There's a very like small amount of signal there to decide what to choose. So what do you look for to determine what you invest in?
Interesting people working in a big market with a big vision, and usually, mm, I know it's hard, but if it that's why we attract rather than find people in events, or we do attend events, we go there to meet people, but usually we attract people towards us, which is, I think, the best way in VC, because you lower the CAC, I would say, if you want to
Hmm.
use terms.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But I mean,
it's a,
interesting people is an interesting term. What do you mean by interesting people? I mean,
so I call them builders. So people who build things. It might be building a technology product. It might be a group of people that you created in university. You might have solved multiple problems and have some kind of product sense, I would say. Those are interesting people, in my opinion, because they know how to mobilize, they know how to sell people. Because startups need to be selling investors, customers, and team members. So if there are
right.
people who know how to sell in that sense, we usually are attracted towards them. Of course, I have to underline it that it's not people who sell anything. So it's not people who sell empty promises. Um, I don't
of
know
course.
yani why, but
Sell and
we
deliver.
exactly. So people who did things and know how to attract people towards their mission, I would say.
Right. So, I mean, you're very much an engineer at heart, and you became a VC. So how does that affect your viewpoint, do you think?
Um, I think it allows you to think broader, but at the same time, it's tricky. It's, sometimes you start thinking of like everything, is it viable or not? Which sometimes I catch myself doing, but you shouldn't really care when you're just starting. You should really be doing what you're doing for the passion. Like, wouldn't it just be cool if I can do this? Sometimes it might become a startup or not. By the way, a lot of open source projects, a lot of cool things that happen in the world didn't really need to become startups. Some of them did. So uh, you should really be careful about not falling into the trap of thinking of everything like what the output, what's the yield of this. Maybe there is no yield yet. Maybe time will, in 5 years, there will be a yield. There should be a movement. Maybe you should track like, uh, am I going towards a goal? Regardless if the goal will give you money or will it be a sustainable business. I think in that area, I sometimes uh, fear that not to be pushed a lot by, not to be sucked by the VC part of it, which, yeah, I think that's my biggest, I would say, conflict in being a VC and an engineer at heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes being a VC, I mean, one of the biggest fears is to be too realistic and too, like, not really seeing the opportunities and the potential, and looking at all the roadblocks instead. Because I mean, the roadblocks are always easier to see, aren't they?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because in just like tangible, let's say you're in year three in a VC, or this is the last year, and there's a great team, and you've decided as a portfolio design structure that you're not going to do any more pre-seed startups because there is not enough time to exit them. This is great VC talk, but what if that's the next stripe of your
Exactly.
war,
Yeah.
and you didn't see that because you put those VC blinds on too hardly. So maybe that's what you were alluding, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just an interesting thing on that note, if it's being too late because it's the last year to invest in pre-seed, there was just in the news a month ago, I think, Union Square Ventures, which is like one of the greatest VCs and a very old VC, just exited its very first fund
Mhm.
this year. So it takes more than we think, and I think, we have to just look at the long-term game. It's not really about the next 5 years, even, in VC. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. All about the
Yeah,
long term vision. Yeah.
absolutely. So I found Propeller's media strategy to be very interesting because you guys, you're a very small fund, you're a micro fund, which is normal. It's your first fund. And yet you have a technical conference, Expand. You have 2 podcasts, Let's Talk Product and Expand Snippets. You're starting a blog. So it's like A16Z, with their billions of dollars of under management, media strategy. Of course, within your capabilities, you're doing it, but it's an interesting strategy. What do you think about there? It seems like a huge investment.
Um, but well, it's not, and it takes it all on us as a team, of course, just like any, because we're trying to move at startup speed where you need to do a lot of things by yourself. You need to hack things. You cannot do everything perfectly. You cannot assign an agency to do something. Uh, I don't believe that you can outsource. And if anyone tried to do that, it will probably fail unless they're really big where they can hire the top people who make it look organic. So everything we do is organic, is from the heart. It's just that we push ourselves to share more, try to uh, help others that they would at some point help us or reach out or become a portfolio company or become a mentor to one of our startups. So it's a strategy where we want to be an active part in discussions that are happening in the region. Try to learn more so you so when you have a voice, it's actually helpful. I don't say that we did anything to be in this position yet. We're growing slowly, but just like any startup that starts, which I see myself as I don't want to claim that I'm even close to the stress that startup founders have, but we're a starting up business and we need to really hustle. So I feel it's part of the hustle. That's what pushes us to do multiple things.
Incredible. So, I mean, speaking of the startup stress, uh, one of the things that are always stressful in startups is fundraising. You've been through it as a startup and as a fund as well. So, are there any best practices you can share with listeners?
Hmm. Um, I'm sure there are many things, but one of the things that really is crucial is uh, triaging who you should talk to, like understanding, like, does this investor, whether it's an LP or a VC, fit our thesis? Because you don't want to, not thesis, fit what you're doing. Because
Right.
if they're in the wrong market, if they don't do early stage startups, it's all wasted time where you can use that call, you can use that preparation to do other things that might be more fruitful. So I would really focus on whom should I talk to. Talk to a lot of people, of course, but also select, yani even like narrow it down, but also talk to a lot of people as well, which means you should go outside of your comfort zone. And it's all about telling the story. So uh, a
Yeah.
good pitch deck is about why us, why now, why is it interesting, rather than just TAM and use of funds, so many extra, يعني we really I skim over them. I think me and many others, by the way, يعني you can hear others talk about this. There's so much extra information in deck. Sometimes you reach like the end of the presentation and you're like, so what do you do? يعني I understand the TAM, I understand that you need 2 million and whatever, but what do you actually do? Who's your customer? What are you trying to solve? And yeah,
Yeah.
so I think telling the story is really important. It's not
Yeah.
easy, but that's why you should really work on refining it every time. We still
Absolutely.
refine, yani every time I send our own deck as Propeller, I keep on refining it because
Yep.
it should be a living document. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So the story is very important. Getting it really tight and really clear. The problem you're solving, why you, and targeting the right people in the first place, and really looking at your pipeline correctly. Great.
Mhm,
So, I mean, going back to your story about your career, you talked about your startup in the job uh, space, in the recruiting space. Sorry, I think it was Job Talk,
mhm.
right, in 2014, and you spoke about timing. You know that job
Jobland.
Jobland. Sorry, I have no idea where I came up with Job Talk. Anyway, Jobland, and you spoke about timing, the issue of timing, and that really, if the timing isn't right, no matter how good your idea might be, like 10 years from now, it won't work today. Uh, at the same time, for early stage, we need to be a little early because you're kind of positioning yourself to be at the right place at the right time. So it's really very difficult to predict. Do you think it's even possible to predict that?
I really believe it's hard. That's why I think you should be as a VC investing in a lot of teams. I don't know what a lot is, depends, but you should be backing more and more people, even if they don't have a clear exit strategy or clear like 5 year plan vision. Because as you said, يعني, Ali, that's a really good. You identified that you need to start earlier than the market. Usually, a lot of times, you look at the startup, you're like, yeah, but there is no market. Good, but you need to sniff the world changing in that direction. can they actually win? If the answer is they can win, I don't know how, I don't know when, but is this the right team? Is what they're doing something that there is some indication that it might, there is a possibility. I think you should back those people. Uh, and as you said, people start earlier before it was good. For example, Figma, when they started, WebGL wasn't really that fast,
Yeah,
and the technology wasn't really there for them to be able to do. If they did Figma back then exactly like this today, it would have been very slow within the browser. But
yeah,
because they had head start, that's why when things got better in 2014, 15, they actually started getting some traction.
yeah. And I mean, going to the Figma story, they were actually very patient, and their investors as well. They took years of not really having things right with the product before the timing was perfect.
Mhm.
It's not really perfect. It's really patience and hard work and vision and luck,
Yeah,
to some extent.
great.
Yeah. I mean, you're a VC based in Jordan. How is being a VC in Jordan different from other parts of the Arab world, uh, in your view?
Um, Jordan is an interesting
Or
place where uh, in the VC space, especially Jordan, we have a lot of good history. يعني, as Jordan, we've been at the forefront of building technology and startups. Forefront. I'm not saying we're the only ones, but we did well looking
yep,
at our size. We have Maktoub, we have uh,
exactly.
Souq, we have Jawakir now. We've had older successes with different teams as well. And we had the first VCs, one of the first VCs in the region, Silicon Valley. But before
Yep,
that, there were another name. I forgot it now. But yeah, so we have that history, people who've tried once, twice, and failed. And also at the same time, we're too small. We don't have a market and we don't have capital. يعني, I wouldn't say that as a country we're rich in capital.
yep,
As a VC, I would actually say we are not rich in capital. It's very limited sources, and we're very thankful that we were able to tap into them. But I don't believe that there are like option Bs. Like literally, we only there was only option A. We took money. If if they didn't work, there isn't option B. It's that hard in Jordan, I would say. So as a
hmm,
VC, it's hard to start in Jordan, but at the same time, we do have great talent, which and networks and connections because of everything that happened through our history, which enables us to be a good regional fund. I'm gonna say. I know that we're in Jordan, but also the experience that we've got and collaboration with our brothers in Egypt, Saudi, the UAE, Syria, other countries. Uh, I think we will, and we have a good shot at being a good regional VC because of our history.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the way you describe Jordan is a bit similar. I was like a couple of trips on the to Sweden and their startup ecosystem there, and of course, Sweden has produced quite a few huge companies like Klarna, Spotify, and many others. And it's a very similar situation, except they have capital maybe, in that they, because of the fact that there's a small market, they have to look globally. They have to have regional success, regional and global success to be, and they have to think about that from day one. And that almost raises the ambition bar. It's actually a good thing in a way, in the way they think and the way they focus on product and do that. And Jordan, I think, is kind of the most similar thing in the Arab world, and it's really wonderful what the ecosystem has done compared to the size of the market, as you mentioned.
Um,
Uh,
But we also have stability, by the way. Just to give credit, Lebanon
yeah,
is also great. Yes, with great talent.
yeah,
Similar, I
yeah,
would say they might have some problems with the economy and
right,
politically, but they have great talent as well. And
absolutely, yeah,
they've done
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would definitely agree with you on that. Okay, so that's we're talking about Jordan and versus the Arab world. What about the rest of the world? Is it How do you look at that? How do you see the differences between you as a Jordanian VC and a VC in Silicon Valley? What are the challenges you're facing that they might not be facing? What are opportunities you're seeing they might not be seeing?
So I'm just gonna not talk about fundraising for us because that's boring and that's not the main thing. But
Yeah.
on the startups side, I would say that access, and it's not easy to access deals globally, which
Hmm.
is something that needs to be, in a way, hacked. You need to figure out different ways. Although we do have investments. One of so now UK, uh, California, Boston, and the UAE are places where we have investments in. We have companies that move to different geographies as well in the region, but
Hmm.
it's harder for us to actually access deals there, which is usually the case, by the way, especially at the pre-seed stage. There's a saying that if a company is, I don't know how much far than Sand Hill Road, VCs will not go to meet it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why everyone goes to Silicon Valley to fundraise. Because if
Exactly.
you're in Nebraska, most probably you will not be able to find good VCs. So in that
Hmm.
sense, it's harder for us as geography. But the more we are digital, the more we are doing things in a different way, which COVID helped,
Yeah.
uh, gives you access to better deals and grow your footprint. I would say uh, similar
Yeah.
to how other VCs in North America do it.
Yeah. Okay. Like moving to another track, we're near the beginning of 2023. Predictions are all over the place for the global economy. Some people are saying it's going to be a soft landing. Some people are saying we're going into a huge recession that's going to last for years. And it's really all over the place. There's a lot of uncertainty. That's the short version. So, how are you advising your portfolio companies on how to uh, travel through this upcoming year?
So I would say in one sentence, make your money last. Make your money last. Doesn't say like don't you spend money or don't try to grow because you should be trying to grow, but maybe don't try to grow super fast in the hopes that another VC will be able to catch you in 6 months because that your VC might not be there. So make your money last and grow sustainably. Uh, uh, you might be able to weather the storm. It seems like the storm is coming. I'm not an expert on global finance or macroeconomics, but it seems it's going to be tougher for startups. Yet we will, times will be good. So when the sun is shining and everything is good, most probably the companies will be in a better place as long as they are still there. Yeah, they didn't
Alive.
close shop. Exactly. So make the money last is really important.
Right. So, I mean, maybe sacrifice some growth if that growth is going to come at a huge cost to your bottom line and your burn.
Yeah, if your number, if you, yeah, if you have market leadership for like a few months and then you close shop, I don't know what good would that get you.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's a good segue to you talk a lot about the importance of gross margins for VC investments, and that not all businesses are good for VC, including sometimes you talk about businesses that a lot of VCs have actually invested in. So, can you tell me more about that? About your thoughts about that and how you look at things?
Well, yeah, the, through my humble new understanding of VC and looking at companies, uh, يعني, I've come to read a lot and understand how business works. And if the unit economics don't add up, uh, you can get away with it for a short time, which is what I was talking about, like from one hand of a VC to the other, hot potato. But
Right.
times are not good and no one will carry you forward. You would end up in a really bad place. Of course, there is always, yani, you can go in the minus as net profit. That's totally acceptable as a because you're moving so fast as a startup. But there's a margin, like how much is it? That's why gross profit margins are really important. If you have good ones, and if you have a relatively good team that's growing, you will most probably be almost profitable all the time. But you choose not to. So you choose to go to the minus. Not that's the whole business model until something happens. I don't believe in like just a miracle, like waiting, like maybe we'll become a unicorn and will. There should always be a plan. The business should be healthy, good economics, and when you go into the mode where you're burning a lot, it should be briefly and calculated. I think that sums up my position on that.
Right. So, I mean, reflecting that, on how tough times are for fundraising, things like that, and uh, I know you had a quite an interesting trip or journey with the POSRocket, and things were really tough. Even though it's a the fundamentals of the business are great, but things were not that. Easy. Looking back on that journey, and how do you think? I'm sure the team has had this conversation. What would you do differently? Or
What would we do differently? So, as you said, many tough things like, you're trying to teach people to get on the bandwagon of cloud computing. So, a lot of POS systems weren't on the cloud. So, there are
right,
a lot of customer education. There were the big player in the market, Foodex. They're also doing well. So, it's not as easy to penetrate new markets. But the things I've learned, I would say, don't be afraid to do things. So sometimes we overcomplicate things. So I would say that we could have entered other geographies faster, uh, have uh, more, how to say it, like be more confident in
yeah,
ourselves. I would say that there are some products that we launched but didn't really launch. We did experiments. I wouldn't say it's very optimal. We didn't give the experiments enough time. So we did
mm,
something that looks like online stores, but we did it uh, very timidly. We didn't really release it into the market. So if you do an experiment in a way that it will fail, it will most probably fail because you never really put the effort into it. It's like a VC
right,
putting a very small ticket into company and then say, why did they close shop? Because you didn't give it
right,
enough effort. So I think the times are where we didn't, if you say, be confident and dream big enough. Uh, I I would say that's the biggest thing that I learned from POSRocket.
interesting. So, going to another thing completely. I mean, from your posts, I get the impression that you really hate Web3. Is that true? And why?
No, actually, I love the technology behind Web3. It's really exciting. Having decentralized apps, having smart contracts working on behalf of every transaction, figuring out like what to do, who to give money to. Uh, Possibilities are great. So
Mm,
I really like the. And what is Web three? It's the evolution of the web. So how can I not like Web three? Just like I liked Web two, 'cause I was there.
yeah.
That maybe this dates my age. So,
Mm,
but Web three, it's sadly tied to cryptocurrencies and investments and speculations, and this whole thing where it's a movement and you need to believe in it. No one did that in Web two, and it wasn't a movement of online Ajax and forums. It was just, oh look, this is a cool application that we can use. This Facebook thing, you can actually share content. You're part of the content creation cycle.
mm-hmm.
In Web three, it became more of a religion or a movement, not in the good sense, I would say, where A lot of people got burned, a lot of money got wasted, a lot of sadly people who are uneducated of how does web or things that are called Web3 work lost a lot of money because it was uh, making like snake oil salesmen and people trying to really rip off people who don't understand how Web3 works. And they even make it sound more complicated than it is. So in that sense, yeah, I hated that thing, which I still do. I think it still exists, but the hype is gone now.
Hmm.
Although it will resurface again in a different for I don't know, maybe they'll call it Web 4 or maybe they'll call it a different thing.
Yeah.
But I'm usually very skeptical as a person. I'm both hopeful but very skeptical at the same time. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the thing that pushes me to push back
Yeah. The
against
the the
Web3.
religious fervor, the overhyping.
Yes.
Got it. So, I mean, just very recently, I think this week, you made a post about the latest YC batch, giving an overview of the statistics. Um, could you share with us your observations and your learnings from that post?
Okay. So, but yeah, I went over like the companies, spent a lot of hours just looking, reading what, of course, what they have on the website, and then going down the rabbit hole, following each founder, like going on their LinkedIn, seeing what they built, what they worked on. And I'm not going to say I was surprised about a lot because YC has been consistent. So if it's not like something changed this year a lot, but it's just like I went deeper this year trying to understand them. And I would say that they really focus on complete teams. They like founders. So the average founders are two, and which means there are a lot of threes, fours, and a few ones. But when that happens, another thing is that those founders are, I'm not going to say the complete package as in they know everything, but they know how to build the product. So usually they're from a technical background. If it's a healthcare company, they might be doctors or bioinformaticians or something related to what they're solving, or software engineers if they're solving a SaaS problem, product managers. So that's also something they that I've seen. Types of businesses they back are, a lot of them are SaaS because similar to what I said, the nature of SaaS companies, how big they can grow, how technology is actually solving things in the real world. So when you say now there's a hype with AI, it's part of SaaS. And I don't consider it as a separate academic pursuit. These are software companies providing the AI as a SaaS, similar to Copy AI, Jasper, all of the other ones.
Yeah.
So I think those are the things that I've noticed the most, like founder backgrounds and things. One thing that's really interesting is a lot of the founders do have other expertise in different startups. So either they had a previous startup or they worked
Hmm.
in a startup, and a lot of them actually work together. So this you can only see if you go to LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
when you go at the same time check out all the other founders, you're like, okay, they worked in this startup, Airbnb, for
Right.
example. One of them
Yeah.
was a product manager, one of them was a software engineer. Most probably that's where they became friends. And
Hmm.
then a few years later, they started a company, applied to Y Combinator, and the story goes.
Yeah. And Airbnb itself was a Y Combinator company, and it's just the cycle keeps growing.
Exactly.
Do you think, I mean, all the lessons there are generally applicable, or are they more just a confirmation that in the way YC is focusing, it's successful? I mean, this is the way YC does things.
But, well, it is the way YC does things, but doesn't mean it's the right way. And I don't believe there is only one way to do something. It depends what you're solving and which market. And um, I'm sure that at some point YC will be an old, and I don't know when, but it will be the old way of doing things, and there will be a new paradigm and new way of doing things that's better. So currently,
Yeah.
they seem to have been doing well. I'm a fanboy, but I don't know if that will last. Well, I'm sure that there are other pockets in the world where innovation is happening and people do it in a different way. So I would be
Absolutely.
skeptical about the, it's not the holy grail, but it's just really good at that point.
Yeah. So, can you tell me, going back to Propeller, what is a recent investment you made and why you made it?
Okay. So I'll tell you about the latest investment, which is the Bionel. So Bionel is a company building tooling for bioinformatics researchers to do their
Mhm.
job faster. So it's tooling and AI. It's SaaS offering utilizing AI technology to provide the researchers with faster, better ways of understanding their data.
Mhm.
The founders themselves, yeah, one of them is an MD, so medical doctor.
Yep.
He didn't work actually. He was always building things. Ahmed Jadallah, and the other one works in technology, in AI, and the other one is a bioinformatician. So they're relevant to the industry. They
Mhm.
lack, I would say, they lack management skills. They lack things like that. But no one started with those things. And if you talk to the Collison brothers when they started the Stripe, they didn't know how to manage 10 people. They learned. The thing is that they were infinite learners, people who learn, passionate.
Yep.
And if they need to learn something, they would go and do it, or they would hire someone who's better later on, better than them at doing it. So, yeah, I think that sums up why we did it and why it's exciting. So it
Mhm.
also fits us at SaaS. And I really believe that life sciences and healthcare is an area that's untapped. There's
Yep.
so much that can be done, which would reduce, which would make healthcare accessible, which would reduce, like medical bills and pricing of medicine, all of these things.
Absolutely. I'm curious. I mean, for this specific investment, did you think about the market? Did you try to evaluate the market size, or are you just? I mean, obviously, it's riding some very strong way trends in the market and things that are going to be essential moving forward. But specifically for tooling for bioinformatics, I guess it's still a small market at this point in time, at least, right?
It might, it's exactly as we talked before. It might look like something that's niche. It might
Yep.
stay niche, but what if it grows? What if it's actually the next wave of precision medicine, and this is the best way to do it? And all of these researchers end up using this tool. We believe that this is a possible outcome. We don't, there are
Wonderful.
no guarantees, but what's guaranteed is that the team is good enough and capable enough to do that. This is something that we can see today. But where will the market go? I still don't know. How big is the market? Honestly, I don't even, it's, right now you can see it's a billion, which is not a lot, but I don't think there's a difference between a billion and a couple of billion. Anything that is kind of like there are enough people working in it today that it has a few billion, I think there was enough market to go after. And yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to like double click on that. The idea that it's really about what could go right, not where we are today and what all the limitations are. And what could go right are basic trends that are actually happening and we are in the business of optimism in the startup world, not in the business of expecting things not to go well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at the Arab world in general, I mean, do you see major opportunities, any major opportunities for startups in the area?
So the one area that I believe is really untapped is infrastructure that enables cross country business or
Mm,
yeah, so I would say. So a lot of doing business across countries is hard. It's much easier in the US. US, a lot of different states, but at the end, they work seamlessly together. So it's very easy for me to sell if I'm a SaaS startup in, let's say, Miami, I can have customers in Silicon Valley within a few hours. I wouldn't say even a
Yep.
few days. But in our region, okay, I want a customer from Saudi. Oh, I need now a registration and stuff. I need a new customer from Syria, the blocked country. I mean, these uh, this infrastructure that enables us to do business better. I think that's an area that's untapped. I'm still looking for startups that do that. It pushed us toward one of our startups, which is InvoiceQ, that does e-invoicing across countries. That's part of the puzzle, I would say, but
Mhm.
so many other areas and infrastructure. I'm not talking about infrastructure as in water supply and these things, technology infrastructure or business infrastructure. I'm not really sure what to call it, but
Got it.
the simplest word is infrastructure for me to
Yeah,
use.
the idea is clear. So, um, last like major question before the quick fire questions. In 10 years from now, what do you think Propeller will be doing? What will it look like?
Um, I actually don't know, uh, but uh, I know that we will be uh, happy, helpful. The team will have grown a bit, not much. Uh, the people we impact will have grown. So we would have the teams we backed are going to be larger. I know that we will be covering more of the region. I think we are limited now, but we will probably go more into Africa, go more into Pakistan, Turkey. Like, I don't know the reach, but it will be a regional play rather than Middle East only. And yeah, I can't, you know, I don't know.
No, that's a pretty big vision, and it's refreshing to say, the honest answer.
Yeah.
So, quick fire questions. I'll ask a quick question and get your answer for it. First one, what books do you like to recommend to others?
What books? Systems Thinking is a great book. Sorry, Thinking in Systems. I forgot the name of the
Right.
writer. Maybe we'll find it and put it in the notes.
No, definitely.
Um, Great book. The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I know many people recommend it, but no
Yeah,
harm in recommend it again.
absolutely.
Um, I think reading about UX for uh, so there's a book called I forgot the name. It's about no UI, something related to how can you build invisible UIs where you don't really see the UI,
Mm,
but you actually experience it. So it's a
right.
really good book that helps you think about UX, uh,
Hmm.
the design of everyday things. Again, a
Yeah,
UX book, but it really helps you figure out
absolutely.
why are things built the way they are.
Beautiful book.
Uh, and if you're into VC, I would read the Power Law. Uh,
Hmm.
I think it's a but Mullaby. I think
Yep,
the
yep,
last
yep.
name of the writer. So I would read that as well. Uh, yeah, those are the
Wow,
things that come to mind. I'm just trying
a
to look.
great list of recommendations there.
Reading about history. The last thing I want to add. So there's a book about the history of Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
Like how did the actual Silicon part of Silicon Valley? So it
Right.
starts and ends before you even see any software. By the way, so it's all
Hmm.
about like
Fairchild and Intel and
Fairchild.
all these come. Yeah.
Exactly. So understanding how they started, not that you can replicate it, but really you can understand why did things happen the way they did and how VCs were instrumental in building that, by the way.
Yeah.
At the end, you think that VCs is just something new, but started in the 50s at those times.
Hmm.
I think that's a valuable book to read, to learn about the history of technology in the recently in the world.
Interesting. I'll get the name from you later and put it in the show notes.
Okay.
So, how do you unwind and how do you stay energized?
I'm so I try to learn things. So I'm a cyclist. I do mountain biking. I really enjoy it. So that's something that really helps me unwind. I because when you're, I'm just I know it's because it's a high adrenaline sports. I would say you're literally trying to avoid trees in a forest, so it helps you unwind and relax. I know it's different than
Right.
meditation, but it's actually my meditation because
You
I
have to
can't
focus
think.
on just one thing because if you don't, you're gonna hit a rock. So it
Exactly,
helps.
and you might
Yeah.
end up breaking an arm or something.
Yep.
So I do that all the time with the family, and you know that's also something important. Friends and family. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't have any like meditation rituals, and I'm not into that. I'm just
Yeah, a little bird told me you like guitar playing as well sometimes.
I do. It helps me think actually. A lot of time I end up there in the like other room, but I just grab the guitar, start practicing, start playing things. A little bit of blues doesn't really need to make sense. It's part of what we're talking about. Just playing for the sake of playing, not
Mhm.
really for the sake of recording it and making money out of this record. And just enjoy your time. I also play drums, which I can't show you now,
Oh,
but it's right here. Uh, Also helps me upset, like
yeah.
just
Just disconnect from the
relax.
world and yeah, clear your
Exactly.
mind. Absolutely. So, who do you think we should have as a guest on the podcast?
Um, Regionally, or actually,
Yeah,
Amjad Masad, I would really like to always
Amjad?
hear from Amjad Masad from
Oh, I'd
Rocklet.
love to have him. Yeah,
Uh,
he's one of my favorite founders in the world right now. I really love
uh,
his thoughts.
I love
Yeah,
his
who
company,
else?
his thought.
Yeah,
Who
it's
else?
the company is building.
I would also talk to Sinan or Fuad from Maqsam. I know it's our portfolio company, but I really like the way they think about creating a company. So they have really
Hmm.
interesting ideas about how to build culture, how to build, like a sales machine, product development machine.
Interesting.
Um, who else? People I know that I respect. I would also talk to Zed Husban from POSRocket because he has great ideas as well.
Hmm.
I didn't really prepare for this section, so uh,
No, I'm sure. Well, we can always add more later. So, what
mhm.
question should I have asked you that I didn't?
By the way, I would talk to the guy who created or the team that created InstaDeep, which just
Right. In
yeah,
Tunis. Yeah,
I would talk to them. Well,
absolutely.
what they've done is great. I think Kareem something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to hear that story. Let
Yeah,
me
me
put it
too. And I'm sure our listeners.
right.
So, what question should I have asked you that I didn't?
There's something I wanted to, yani, what's the infatuation that you have, Tambi, with the Middle East, and why do you want everyone to work together? It's a thing that I've I've been focusing a lot lately, which is the whole thing about nations competing with each other. I believe that we should be competing less and cooperating more. I know it sounds like very kumbaya, and you know, I believe that this is the way for us to all grow together. And I think that we should think about all our prosperity and not compete as countries or different areas. Uh, these are all cities where great people live in. They just happen to be in countries because someone decided that these lines make a different country than that one.
Hmm.
Those people want to collaborate, want to work together. So I'm always for collaborating more. That's why recently I've been obsessed with finding teams that happen to be from Egypt, Jordan, Saudi, different co-founders that happen to meet somewhere and start a startup. And if those
Yep.
places where they meet don't happen, I'm also looking for, okay, how can we create those avenues for them to meet? So then in 5 years, when we talk about them, like, yeah, this is where they started. They met at this conference or this event or
absolutely.
Yeah, it should be the conference events.
No, I mean,
That's
that's wonderful, and it just resonates, of course, very much with me. This is why I created this podcast. To create this sense of that this is like one entity really, and that collaboration is really the road to a huge market. So it's good for business, and it's also good
Mhm.
in so many other ways. So I mean, lovely. Um, One last quick fire question: how can people reach you if they want to reach out to you or to Propeller? What's the best way to reach out?
So you can just send us a message on any of our يعني, uh, Twitter,
Social media,
LinkedIn, send me social
right?
media, send any of the team. Go to the website and fill out the form if you want to formalize your thoughts and share them with us. Yani, that's a way, but it's not the only way. You can also reach out to any of our team members on social media. We respond usually within an adequate time. Sometimes there are slower times because work piles up, especially when a lot of people are fundraising, so would get bombarded by
Yeah,
requests. But yeah, I don't believe we have any special place. It's just whatever you see available in front of you, just send us a message on it.
yeah, great. And I like to close the episode on a note of gratitude always. So, what is a gift someone has given you that had a large effect on you on your life?
Um, I can't say something cheeky like the gift of life from my parents, or that's I think
No, I
obvious.
mean that's too common.
Uh,
That's like something I think everyone will say. So,
yeah. Um, what really tough question, Ali, but interesting questions. I would say, uh, yeah, yeah, belief. Yani some people in my lifetime, I don't want to name a lot of, but they believed in me. They put their trust and their uh, hard-earned capital, and I really thank them for that belief and trust. Keeps me going, and it also, uh, yani, also it gave me comfort enough to think bigger. I hope I am thinking as big as I should be. Yeah, I think the gift of believing in other people, uh, and a few people did it. It's not only one person in my life, so I thank them all.
great. That's a great note to end on, Tambi. And I want to thank you for your time and express my gratitude to you for spending this time with me and the listeners. And hope to talk to you soon, face to face in Egypt, hopefully,
Thank you, Ali. Definitely.
or
I'm
in
sorry.
Jordan. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, and if you're
Yeah.
into Mensa and stuff, have to come to
Uh-huh.
Jordan.
Well, I haven't tried it. I was like, people have described it to me as something really heavy duty, that, you need an ambulance to take you, afterwards because it's so heavy on the
You shouldn't
system.
plan after it. Yani you eat Mensa
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. And then,
evening is lost.
yeah, forget about the rest of the evening and just sleep till the next day or something. Thank you very much, Tambi, for this very gracious invite and for your time today. Wonderful interview. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Startups Arabia podcast. If there was something you really liked about what the guest said today, reach out to them on social media and tell them what you liked. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? You don't want to miss any of our great upcoming episodes. Also, please rate us and give us comments on our social media accounts so that we know how to improve. And also tell us what you like. We don't mind hearing that either. Until next time, this was your host, Ali's Whale.